You're supposed to.
Well, we're filling up rapidly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the National Day of Forgiveness, which has nothing to do with our theme today. Welcome questioners, welcome seekers of truth with a capital T, war-weary pilgrims longing for sanctuary, travelers seeking harbor from the storm. Welcome all who seek spiritual and religious community. We welcome all into our congregation of wide embrace. And this is the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Grand Traverse, UUCGT. I'm Dave Newhouse. I'm a member of Sunday Services Committee, that's why I'm up here, and the Endowment Committee and the Vocal Ensemble. Welcome to those joining us live on stream, as well as those here in our beautiful sanctuary. If you're visiting or new, if you're willing and able, will you please stand and introduce yourself, and we'll bring you a mic so you can tell us who you are. So everybody went away and nobody came. Too bad. Okay. So, sharing our joys and concerns with our beloved community helps us stay connected, both in moments of celebration and in times calling for compassionate support. For those in the sanctuary, the book to record your cares and concerns is on your left. You can enter a message there or light a candle, and those joys and concerns will be read later in the service. As we start our service this morning, please set aside the distractions of daily life and turn these things to stun, so that we might each bring full attention to this time together. So welcome all who come with love and energy to share. Welcome to those who worry about the future. Welcome each one who is grateful for today. Know that in this place, you are not alone. Our service today centers on war and the environment, addressing our 6th principle, peace, liberty, and justice for all, and 7, respect for the interdependent web of life. Now remember, if you're my age, you remember the phrase from the dim, dark, distant past, war is not good for children or other organisms. And to that we add, or the environment. So, Misty, time for the chalice.
Okay, Dave is going to light the chalice. When we look at the chalice, the Earth's primeval atmosphere would have been blown away in the early stages when the sun was settling down. Our planet may have been for a while as bare as the moon is now. Later, the pressure of the Earth's own mass and the pent-up energy of radioactive contents heated up the interior until gases and water vapor escaped to form the air and the oceans. Dave will light the chalice with pent-up energy. And he will ring the gong. Our first hymn is The Oneness with Everything, number 1052. We feel ourselves a part of a community. We're a part of a church community, and we're a part of a wider community that we try to take care of. So our joys and concerns reflect these issues. Our first one is, please send healing energy and prayers to the Gaylord community. There has been violence and younger lives affected. I don't know about that, but that's something that we should take care of. And that's from Teresa Specher. And then Bill Hysup says, gratitude for Sylvia Walworth and Kate Jarvis for sharing their art. So appreciate that. Okay. Oh, there is? Oh, there's two more? Okay, right. Okay, our minister, Reverend Alex Jensen, has been selected as one of the 40 under 40, a program sponsored by the Traverse City Business Network. Great. Please read yesterday's Saturday, August 31st ticker. Oh my, we can feel the pride and gratitude. And that's anonymous, but we can sure feel that pride, definitely. Okay. And now we will do Spirit of Life.
The offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place, to these people. It's a reminder of the form of love we call generosity. It's how we show that we believe it is important to worship together, to help our community, and to say yes to the values of our faith. We give in love, knowing our contributions will be used mindfully Baskets being passed have two sides. There's a red side for community needs and a blue side for sustenance of this congregation. There are other ways you can contribute, as shown on the slide. You can mail a check to the congregation. You can give via the UUCGT website or the Venmo app. And there's a QR code often. You can give through the Vanco mobile app, or you can make arrangements with your bank, as we do, for regular transfers to UUCGT's account. You can designate your gift as you choose on checks and so on for the congregation, for those in need, or to fulfill your annual pledge. So we'll now take the offering. Misty picked a reading for today from Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. So we are 60 years ago? Anyway. Share with me and think about the theme of war and environment. There was once a town in the heart of America where all lived to seem in harmony with its surroundings. The town lay in the midst of a checkerboard of prosperous farms with fields of grain, hillsides of orchards where in the spring white clouds of blooms drifted above the green fields. In autumn, oak and maple and birch set up a blaze of color that flamed and flickered across a black backdrop of pines. Foxes barked in the hills and deer silently crossed the fields, half hidden in the mists of the fall mornings. Along the roads, laurel, viburnum, and alder, great ferns and wildflowers delighted the traveler's eye through much of the year. Even in winter, the roadsides were places of beauty, where countless birds came to feed on the berries and on the seed heads of the dried weeds rising above the snow. The countryside was, in fact, famous for the abundance and variety of its bird life. And when the flood of migrant birds was pouring through in spring and fall, people traveled great distances to observe them. Others came to fish the streams, which flowed clear and cold out of the hills and contained shady pools where trout lay. So it had been from the days many years ago when the first settlers raised their houses, sank their wells, and built their barns. Then a strange blight crept upon the area, and everything began to change. Everywhere was the shadow of death. In the town, doctors had become more and more puzzled by new kinds of sickness and appearing among their patients. There was a strange stillness. The birds, for example, where had they gone? Feeding stations and backyards were deserted. Few birds seen anywhere were moribund. They trembled violently and could not fly. On mornings that had once throbbed with the dawn chorus of robins, catbirds, doves, and jays and wrens, and scores of other bird voices, there was now no sound. Only silence lay over the fields and woods and marsh. On the farms, fat apple trees were coming into bloom, but no bees droned among the blossoms. There was no pollination. There would be no fruit. The roadsides, once so attractive, were now lined with browned and withered vegetation as though swept by fire. These too were silent, deserted by all living things. Even the streams now were lifeless. Anglers no longer visited them, for the fish had died. No witchcraft, no enemy action had silenced the rebirth of new life in this stricken world. The people had done it themselves. And she concludes, this town does not actually exist, but it might easily have been 1,000 counterparts in America. Every one of these disasters has actually happened somewhere, and many real communities have already suffered a substantial number of them. A grim specter has crept upon us almost unnoticed, and this imagined tragedy here may easily become a stark reality we all shall know. She asked us to become informed about toxins and their unintended effects. She encourages us to adopt a kinder, gentler attitude toward nature that will not destine us to destruction. Misty's going to lead us into a discussion. What is war? What effect does it have on the environment?
War, what is it good for? Yeah. Yes. Great. Okay. Unfortunately, now let's make sure that this is okay. Almost every civilization emphasizes war. Mesopotamia from 2000 BCE, China from 200 BCE with Qin Shi Huangdi and the terracotta soldiers, the Greeks, Julius Caesar, and so on. When we get to the Middle Ages, the philosophy of the environment, central to the West, came from the Bible. Genesis 26-28 says, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the cattle, and over the wild animals of the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over everything that moves on the earth." The Middle Ages were the origin of Western global power. From the sack of Constantinople, through the destruction of indigenous people in the North American continent, the rise of Islam, and the taking of Cusco, Peru, the world was divided into different regions by Western civilization through aggression, war, and a sense of superiority over others. The 15th to 18th century power of European bureaucrats led into the 19th century, where it was aided by the development and use of a new tool, oil and gas. Colonel Drake's discovery of oil in Pennsylvania in 1859 set the stage for the new oil economy, which changed everything. Beginning in World War I, chemical weapons, artillery, repeating rifles, military aircraft, tanks changed the field of war. From these new weapons, the race was on for the deadliest weapons and an ignorance of the fate of the environment under these weapons. World War II increased the number and deadly strength of oil-generated weapons. Weapons became more lethal. Battleships and submarines were greater killing machines. And then nuclear bombs destroyed 2 Japanese cities. The face of war changed again. And the perpetrators changed. The U.S. had the first nuclear weapons, and endeavored to remain in the lead over other civilizations by keeping others from developing nuclear weapons. Those of you who are older like me will remember sitting in school under your desk to protect you from nuclear weapons, as if that would do any good. At one point, 1,352 underground tests were done, 520 atmospheric tests had been accomplished, and 8 undersea tests. Only now, it appears evident that these tests created more damage than had been surmised. There's a story of a girls' dance camp that was close to the first nuclear test, where the girls were dancing in the snow created by the bomb. According to the article, all of the girls were dead before they were 30. However, it was the publication of the book Silent Spring by Rachel Carson that turned scientists' heads to the destruction of many environments around the globe. Silent Spring is often credited with helping to start the American environmental movement in the 1960s and 1970s. Published in 1961, the book is a critical examination of the environmental damage caused by pesticides developed during the war and the chemical industry's efforts to influence legislation on these pesticides. Carson states, "Chemicals came home from the war as heroes, welcomed into our kitchens and schools and hospitals and workplaces to make our lives better. The rapidity of change and the speed with which new situations are created follow the impetuous pace of humans rather than the deliberate pace of nature. The question is whether any civilization can wage relentless war on life without destroying itself and without losing the right to be called civilized," she concludes. We have over 1,000 military bases in the U.S. and in other countries. Each of these bases has their own list of environmental faults. Bases in Iraq used to put their garbage outside and burned it. The soldiers who were there now have various cancers from that smoke. And that doesn't address the mice and the rats and the birds that flew over the area. My husband at the time was in the Navy, and we were stationed in Puerto Rico, very nice place. The base Roosevelt Roads was there so the ships could practice bombing the little island next door named Vieques. We could sit on our porch and watch the weapons fly over and then fall into the Caribbean Sea. Roosevelt Roads is no longer a base, and an attempt has been made to remove those dead weapons, but there are still dead weapons hidden in the shrubbery on Vieques, along with now 5-star hotels. Large corporations earn money by creating weapons to be used by us and anyone to whom we sell weapons. As a matter of policy, many governments of industrialized countries maintain or support a network of organizations, facilities, and resources to produce weapons and equipment for their military forces, and sometimes those of other countries. The big corporations in the U.S. include Lockheed Martin, RTX, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, and General Dynamics. They provide weapons for us today and for wars where we send them in the Middle East and Africa, in Israel, Ukraine, and Nigeria, to name some of the places. Well, we know about this, and we write letters to Congress, but it hardly seems as though those letters are effective. In the first 6 months of his presidency, Donald Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement. The Trump administration weakened or wiped out more than 125 rules and policies to protect our nation's air, water, and land. Not to be outdone, however, Biden allowed the frozen Arctic to be drilled, threatening polar bears and other denizens of the North. In the past decade, under both Trump and Biden, the U.S. has lifted a ban on exporting crude oil. The oil comes from fracking, which destroys the environment around the fracking sites and pollutes the groundwater that people there drink. The U.S. agreed to the placement of sites on the Gulf Coast in the ocean there to export oil and gas mined in the United States, making now the U.S. the greatest producer of oil and gas in the world from our lands transported across the U.S. via pipelines. Now, let's look at the effect of war on Michigan. Selfridge Air National Guard Base outside of Detroit was founded during World War I. During World War II, pilots and maintenance crews trained at the base. During the Cold War era, Nike missiles were stationed at the base to guard the industrial might of the Detroit region. MLive.com reports 5 stormwater drainage outfalls around Macomb County that tested positive in February for PFAS from Selfridge National Guard Base. We are all aware of the transportation of gas through Michigan to Canada by the Enbridge Corporation. On July 26, 2010, a 38-inch pipeline owned by Enbridge ruptured near Marshall, Michigan, releasing millions of gallons of crude oil into Talmadge Creek and the Kalamazoo River. The spill was one of the largest inland oil spills in U.S. history at the time and contaminated a 30-mile stretch of the Kalamazoo River. To my knowledge, that part of the river is still closed off to kayaks and canoes. We in northern Michigan want Enbridge to delete the 70-year-old pipeline that crosses the straits. It's too old and too dangerous. We have an 1836 treaty with the Anishinaabe that they will be able to hunt and fish forever. If that line blows, there will be no more fishing. This is all mired in the courts now. Wildlife has been endangered by the use of our land at the land as our home. The cougar, the lynx, the least shrew, the little brown bat, the northern long-eared bat, the tricolored bat are all endangered. The barn owl, the black tern, the cerulean warbler, the common loon, the eastern whippoorwill, the evening grosbeak are all endangered. Fish, blue pike, lake sturgeon, Atlantic salmon, and paddlefish are either extinct or endangered. Well, we know all this. Some of us try to protect them, but our voices aren't heard in Lansing or Washington, D.C. The philosopher Kathleen Dean Moore asked, why do we let this happen? She says our grandchildren will ask if we saw the destruction from global warming coming. She said, we're at the end of an old story now. The story that has driven the industrialist capital economy for centuries. A set of assumptions about who we are and what we should aspire to. For the last 500 years or so, Western civilization has been living in an adolescent superhero comic book, a sort of cartoon fantasy of planetary subjugation and majesty that stirs the loins of teenage boys and Wall Street bankers. War is based on the same principles of planetary subjugation, aggression, and a dismissive sense of superiority over others, she concludes. All over the world, people want change. When I look at Mohandas Gandhi, who fought the British Empire to take their claws off India, he was just one person, and he achieved his goal without the use of weapons. He refused to use manufactured goods, as most of them had been brought from Britain. His people wore khadi, which is a cotton made from locally grown cotton, not brought from Britain. His famous salt march to the sea was to get salt from the seawater instead of purchasing it from the Brits, just as the Americans in the Revolutionary era used the Boston Tea Party to separate themselves from England. In the Third World, indigenous people in India, Africa, Southeast Asia live on land that their families have lived on for centuries, growing crops like rice that have been grown for centuries. Now they fight with multinational corporations whose aggression and dismissive sense of superiority over others that want to establish dams, moving people from their hereditary land in order to get more electricity, and to cut down the forests that surrounded them for years. We live in cities that require lumber from forests for our homes, and metal, lithium, and other earth metals for our cars, packaged food from grocery stores for our sustenance. One of the leaders advocating a new philosophy of life is Vandana Shiva, praised by the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, a physicist who sees third world countries exploited by first world countries and saw an answer just as Gandhi did, an indigenous philosophy she calls Earth Democracy. She has written several books and lectures on the importance of the indigenous way of life, looking at our life as a part of the world, but not over the world, just as Joanne Cook, the Anishinaabe woman who spoke here this summer, does. She says, all species, peoples, and cultures have intrinsic worth. We are all members of the Earth family, interconnected through the planet's fragile web of life. We have a duty to live in a manner that protects the Earth's ecological processes and the rights and welfare of all species and all people. Diversity in nature and culture must be defended. Resources vital to sustenance must stay in the commons, common to everyone. Her ideas sound a lot like our UU principles. They don't promote war or taking water, lithium, metal, and trees from other countries to make our life better, but respect the indigenous people's sense of connection with the earth itself. To review, we look at that commandment in Genesis that says that we have the right to subdue the earth and have dominion over the earth. But the question is whether any civilization can wage relentless war without destroying itself and without using, ignoring being called civilized. Let's see. So we can compare the commandment in Genesis with Shiva's Earth Democracy and Rachel Carson's philosophy behind Silent Spring, and with our own UU principles. Kathleen Dean Moore asks, do we need a new philosophy to change our attitude towards the earth? No, not a new philosophy, a truer understanding of a contemporary one now, that the earth is our earth, our land, and our place that we will save for 7 generations. Thank you. Okay, we'll now do hymn 1072. The earth is, oh, sorry, 1073. And Bill DeHaggard is going to drum for us.
We'll do the first 3 verses.
So now Dave is going to release the flame. As we say, to succeed on a world scale, a clear understanding of knowledge of our territorial limits within Gaia would be essential, and the most scrupulous care would need to be taken to maintain the integrity of those key regions which are found to regulate planetary health. This is by James Lovelock in Gaia. Okay, for our benediction, I'm going to give us the 6th and 7th UU principles. The goal of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and a respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. That is our benediction. Do you want to stand and take hands? So this is our group holding hands together, holding hands to protect the earth, basically. So send a squeeze through, and we're basically done. I have an announcement though. Republican President Ronald Reagan once said, "We can't help someone, but everyone can help someone." A team of industrious UUCGT members have sent more than 5,000 Get Out the Vote postcards to like-minded neighbors. That's fantastic, yes. And we are running low on stamps. This week's Friends of UUCGT in Petoskey and the UP joined our effort using their own stamps. With 64 days left until the election, we ask you to visit the social justice table during the coffee hour and pick up 50 postcards to help get out the vote or donate stamp money. And we need help buying stamps. Attend a celebration of democracy event next Saturday in F&M Park. Bring a friend, connect with a new neighbor while celebrating democracy. Now enjoy some coffee.